Well, it is Fall in Love Week on Charlotte today. And let's face it, if you've been in a relationship for a very long time, it can be hard to keep the love alive.
It's just so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to do special things for our significant other. Mike Vaughn with Sure Hope Counseling is here to help us. He has 5 ways to keep the love going strong. Mike, good morning. Thank you so much for being here today. The truth is, when you've been together, even if it's not for a long time, a short period of time, it is easy to fall into those ruts, right? Where you're just kind of going through the motions and going about your day, and then you forget to really connect.
I know. You would think, no, that wouldn't happen, right? Because we love each other so much, blah, 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 blah. But that is not the way it typically goes, because a lot of other things come into life. I mean, when you're in your 20s and such, right, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
So you do have to put a little bit of work into it. But, you know, one of the things I talk about, and we'll talk about this later, is it shouldn't be all work either. Want that either. You want to be able to have fun together, so we'll get to that.
Okay, so there are 5 things that you can do to keep the love going strong. The first one, tend to resentments or hurts. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so I know this isn't sexy and everything, but the truth is, if you do not deal with things that have hurt you or bothered you with one another, those build up and build up and build up. And the function, what happens with that is enough negativity kind of occurs that over time you grow more and more distant, but it's a slow creep and crawl. And so kind of it's not really one day you wake up and you're really distant, but over time you become more and more distant, and that's a real problem. So the very best probably advice I can give any couple would be, as you go along and you hurt one another, are there things that are kind of between you, make sure you address them. Keep that shelf clean. I always talk about that with people. Keep
the shelf clean. I think the problem is people think like, okay, let's just put it behind us and go on because I don't want to talk about it because it's a difficult conversation. But if you don't have those difficult conversations, you will pay the price later on.
You will pay the price. It's classic thing, right? Like, well, I'll do that tomorrow. Well, when tomorrow comes, it's going to be a more difficult conversation, so you're less likely to do it. And over time, you can imagine, well, now I'm really not going to address that because it was 2 years ago. But that's a major problem. And so, yes, in the moment, it's difficult to do, but it is really worth it if you can do that.
Also, you say to maintain a level of gratitude and appreciation for each other.
Right.
Why is that so important?
So when we first start our relationships, we love each other. We admire everything the person does. We respect them. We think they're the greatest at all things, right?
Laugh at their jokes.
A few things. We laugh at their jokes. Over time, that admiration tends to fade because we know them better and things aren't as funny. We've heard the joke 6 times, right? 6,000 times, whatever. So you have to find new things to be thankful for. And it can be small things. You know what? Thanks for going to work today, right? Just look for ways to be grateful and thankful, because that does a lot. When someone thanks you, even for things that you're supposed to be doing, quote unquote, because people will say that to me, well, he or she's supposed to do that, right? Well, it still feels good to be thanked for it. And we naturally do that when we start a relationship. It just fades and we stop doing that. So look for ways to be thankful and grateful. Every day there are things, if you look for them, I promise. People sometimes are like, oh, there's nothing. Yes, there is. I promise there is. But you have to say it. You may think it sometimes in your mind. Oh, I'm glad that she did that for me. Say it. You have to verbalize it.
Well, you think the other person knows, but they can't read your mind. They don't know. You have to verbalize those things.
And even if they know, it's still so nice to be thanked for things. Just to be appreciated is such a powerful force.
This is good advice. All right, be connected spiritually.
Yeah, so that's really, really important. So we have emotional connection, spiritual, physical, and I like to include intellectual. I've talked about the world. Spiritual is really, it's one of those 4. It's really, really important. If you don't have that in my mind, you're missing a big component of life, because we are spiritual beings and there are spiritual elements to this life. And I think to connect in that way is really, really important, because it also gives you something outside the relationship to not only talk about and connect over, but to kind of orient your life in the way you see things that happen in the relationship and outside the relationship. So it's a really, really important one, in my opinion.
And you say to be open emotionally. Tell me what that's about.
Yeah, so usually guys just kind of stare at me whenever I say this, right? So typically, this is really easy. It's not rocket science. As you go through your day, most people are really good at giving each other the logistics of the day. These were my movements today. I went to the Charlotte Today show. I did this. I did that. Right? We know that about each other. But what you need to include is how you felt about what you did. How you experienced your day is far more important than the logistical workings of the day.
Oh, wow.
It's not that hard, but it does require vulnerability. And a lot of times we don't, especially I think men, we don't think in emotional terms so much. So we don't think to include, yeah, that really made me angry, or I was really happy about that. And sometimes that's all you need to say. But that's the meat on the bones. Just doing the data dumps and the logistical conversations is not how we connect with one another. That doesn't tell us about each other.
That doesn't tell you who somebody is.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It tells you what they did that day, but it doesn't tell you who they are. So when they say, but this is how I experienced that, that's what connects us. And it's really, really simple. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be 10 seconds, but it's really important that you do it on a daily basis.
But those 10 seconds a day can change everything.
They can, because it connects us.
Yeah,
in that
you've
moment.
said before when you have to have, if you have an ugly interaction with your partner, like that you need 5 good ones, a difficult interaction with your partner, then you need 5 good ones to sort of...
5 positive for every 1 negative. That's it's a ratio to keep in mind. We're coming up on Valentine's Day. Think about that. How many interactions do we have that are positive versus negative? Because you need it to be 5 times as many for the relationship to be healthy.
Good stuff, Mike Vaughn. Thank you so much. You know, Shauna Niequist in that book, Present Over Perfect, she talks about some of this stuff. You should tell your patients about that, too.
will.
SureHopeCounseling.com. SureHopeCounseling.com is the website to go to for more from Mike Vaughn. Great to see you as always. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well,